Hi, Andrew. Thank you for joining me today. I'm really excited to conduct this interview with you. To get us started, in My Life Full of Blessings, what inspired you to write about the theme of finding blessings amidst life's challenges?
By the way. And thank you for doing this interview with me. So, in my life, there's been so many times where I've had conversations with friends or people that I met and talking about different life experiences and the such, and things that I've been blessed with. And, mostly good things, sometimes not so good things. But people would say to me, "Oh, you should write a book." And I would laugh and I'd say, who wants to read a book about me and my life? They don't even know who I am. So anyway, in 2021, I decided to give it a whirl. I just started typing into my laptop chronologically from as far back as I could remember and worked my way forward.
And your book is described as a journey of self-discovery. Can you tell us more about the protagonist's personal growth throughout the story?
Yeah, so I believe one's personal growth never really stops until you stop living. So while my story starts at age 5 or a little bit before that, there's so much room for many years of growth in many ways. Through all the phases of life, there's growth resulting from education, from job experiences, and other personal life experiences. These are the stories that I tell chapter by chapter, starting with growing up in the Bronx, to my 8.5 years career in the Navy, to owning a small commercial diving business and returning back to college, and then 29 years a career at Boeing, and changes that happened in my family along the way.
And My Life Full of Blessings explores the concept of gratitude. How do you think readers can apply the lessons from your book in their own lives?
Well, one thing is I say, don't live in the past. The past should be a learning experience, not a place to spend the rest of your life. So take the lessons of your own life and apply them to shape future decisions and experiences, as I did. And hopefully, you will see your blessings in your life, because if you look for them, they're there.
I love that answer. You caught me right there. Um, as a writer, with culture values or personal experiences influence the storytelling in your book?
Well, I would say, of course, it had to, because, for example, I grew up in a very traditional, old school Italian family with Italian culture, which of course influenced many things that I expressed in my book. And of course, since this is an autobiography of my life's experiences, these things directly influence my storytelling.
And your novel delves into spirituality and life paths. How does your own spiritual practice or beliefs intertwine with the narrative?
I was raised a practicing Catholic from when I was a little kid. I went to Catholic grade school, first through eighth. I was an altar boy as a child, back in the mid '60s, and currently I'm a Knight of Columbus. So faith and spirituality has always played a major role in my life. I've always sought strength through my faith, especially during hard times. And I thank God every morning when I wake up for blessing me with another day of life, as well as the many other blessings that I talk about in my book.
Thank you for that, Andrew. I really felt that. Could you share some of the real life experiences or people you encountered that played a role in shaping the characters and events in your book?
I'd probably have to start with my mother, who shaped me into the man that I grew up to be. As a single mom, she worked 3 jobs to make ends meet. That gave me an opportunity to see the importance of a good career-focused education. She also signed permission for me to join the Navy when I was barely 17, which then became a 8.5-year part of my life that taught me much about sacrifice, camaraderie, brotherhood, and discipline. My friend Mike, who I mentioned in the book, was one of the neighborhood older guys, and he was a primary influence on me joining the Navy at the time. In the 60s and early 70s, in the Bronx, there was a big explosion of the heroin scene and drugs, and Mike thought it would be good for me to get out of town. So he brought me to the various recruiters, and he told me, no Army, no Marines. He says Navy or Air Force. So ended up joining the Navy. And then going to college after I got discharged, combined with over 8 years of experience as an avionics technician in the Navy, obviously provided a foundation for my upcoming career as a lead engineer at the Boeing company. And being blessed with a good career, being blessed with having the wisdom of careful saving and investing, and being blessed with the ability to build a nice home and the ability to travel, all played a role in the events that I talk about in my book.
And My Life Full of Blessing touches upon underrepresented groups. Can you discuss the importance of diversity and representation in your writing?
So I would say probably all immigrant groups and minority groups faced underrepresentation at some point. And we've all faced their unique struggles. For example, when back in the 30s through the 50s in New York City, Italian immigrant jobs, opportunities were limited to manual labor jobs. They rarely could ever get what was considered to be, one of the better jobs, like becoming a policeman or a firefighter. My father started out digging ditches when he got out of the Navy, when he got out of the Army. So while diversity is important to give different ideas in the workplace, for example, based on various cultures and various backgrounds of the employees, it's equally important to also remember, though, that America is a melting pot and not a salad bowl. One of my friends that I grew up with, he was from Argentina, and he used to say that all the time. So, diversity, whether ethnic or gender or some other diversity, brings together people from different backgrounds, which ultimately yields a variety of perspectives and leads to innovation and creativity.
Now, what do you hope readers will take away from your book after they finish reading it?
Well, I hope to possibly have an impact on people's lives, a positive impact, after they read my book, possibly to give them a different perspective of their own life, possibly to motivate them to make some changes, or maybe even just to write a book of themselves so they could pass that along to their future families.
It's a good healing process to writing something about yourself. Writing a book can be both rewarding and challenging. What was the most difficult part of writing My Life Full of Blessings, and what did you enjoy the most?
I'd have to say the most difficult part was knowing, when is this done? Many times I thought I was done, and then maybe I'd have a conversation with you or somebody else or a friend, and I'd tell you about something, and the first thing that popped into my head is I'd say, oh, did I remember to put that in my book? So I'd go back and review it, and then I'd end up adding a couple more paragraphs if I had forgotten that particular point. And at some point I said, I have to publish this book because otherwise I could go on for the rest of my life thinking of other things that I forgot to add. So anyway, so I decided to just go forward and be happy with what I had accomplished and publish it. And it's been suggested by some people that, oh, there could always be a volume 2 or a continuing story.
Like
So what I enjoyed the most, though, was probably the reminiscing and the memories that I was able to go back in my head and think about and write about.
And as an author, how do you find or make time to write?
Well, I guess one thing that I was lucky with or blessed with is that I was retired. I had retired in 2017. And we had just finished building a new home, but I got everything done in the new home that I needed. So I had quite a bit of free time. So that wasn't really an issue. And once I got started on it, it just fueled me to with more motivation to continue and finish it.
And in your writing journey, have you ever experienced writer's block? If so, how did you overcome it?
So I'd have to say no. I don't think I ever did experience writer block. I am a very personable person, and I love talking to people and stuff. And I think once I started writing, it was the same thing. It was just as though I was talking, which I've never had a problem with.
That's something that's good. My Life Full of Blessings has received critical acclaim. What has been the most rewarding compliment you've received about your book?
Oh, well, I've received several that all kind of that might be similar to each other. One was, it could happen to anyone. Miracles are handed out by our Savior through faith. And this author is living proof. Emotional, well-written bio of a blessed life. Reading his book makes me nostalgic, which I mentioned that was one of the things that I liked about writing it. Not just for times go by, but for the type of people who are led by their faith and integrity and honesty and hard work. These are the kind of compliments I got from it. For me, it's very humbling.
And what sets the book apart from other books in its genre?
So I'm not sure how to really answer that question because I've not really read many other books of the same genre to compare it to. However, since this is a true story about my life, it's obviously very different because it's about my life, nobody else's.
And are there any specific vocabulary words or concepts in the book that may be new to readers? Could you define some of them?
I don't think that that you'll find any new vocabulary words in this book because, as I mentioned, I grew up in the Bronx speaking very simple English, a street guy. So there's not too many big fancy words in there. You won't need your thesaurus.
Oh, that's good for a reader like me then. Finally, what projects are you currently working on and what can your readers look forward to in the future?
Well, what I'm working on most recently is I got a substitute teaching certificate. So I'll be helping out teaching in the local K through 8 school, focusing mainly on math, science, and technology, especially for the older, like the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. As far as the future, we'll have to wait and see what the future holds. I'm not really sure. Maybe a volume 2.
Well, everything happens for a reason. One thing will lead you to the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Andrew, as a successful author, what advice would you give to aspiring writers, especially those interested in writing about complex human emotions and relationships, drawing inspiration from the wisdom and experiences portrayed in your book, My Life Full of Blessings?
So my advice to aspiring writers would be just do it. Get a new box of tissues out because you never know what's going to come to mind once you get started, especially when you start reminiscing about the past. Keep writing all that comes to mind. You could just write it, put it down. You could always rearrange it and edit it later. My experience working, again, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, my experience with working with Bookmark so far has been good. I've received many solicitations from other marketing companies and found most of them to be dubious at best, and usually contain various red flags. I felt much more comfortable talking to the Bookmark Alliance people. And after I did some research on them, I decided, okay, this is the one that will work for me.
Well, thank you for sharing that experience, Andrew, with Bookmark Alliance. And also, it was very fulfilling to hear your story and some previews of the book in this interview today. So I'm looking forward to finishing your book.
Thank you. I hope you enjoy it.